Hi, this is Bill Hitchcock, and in this section we're going to be doing a little bit more programming. We're going to set up a four-function calculator. So in order to do that, I need a couple of inputs. I need to have two different numbers. I'm going to add them together. I'm going to get the difference. I'll get the product of them, in other words multiply them, and then finally we'll divide them through, and you can see how that all works. So for my input, I'm going to click here, and it prompts me to save the work now, so I'll go ahead, hit yes, that's fine, and we'll call this for function calc, and I double click on this and we'll say please enter a number, and I'm going to call this just num1. That way it's essentially two words, the word num and then the number 1. That should work just fine. I shouldn't have a problem with reserved words or anything like that. Then I want another input statement, and I'll put that down here. I will say please enter another number. We'll call it num2. And let's get the sum of it. So I could put this all as part of an output statement, but I actually want to do this with an assignment first. So I'm going to put an assignment statement here. And when I double click on that, you can see I've got two boxes. So it says set something to something else. So for example, it says set coins to 5, or set count to count plus 1, set board 33 to 0. So I want to set my variable. My variable is the sum. And I'm going to set that to num1 plus num2. Alright, so save my work. Let's test it out, see how it works. Prompts me, enter a number in. I'll type in 5. It says enter another number. I type in 7. And it prints out the sum here on the side, but nothing on the master console. So all I've done is I've inputted two things. I did the calculation, but I never print this out. So that's where I need my output. So I'll put my output here. Double click on that. And we're going to take a quick pause here. Alright, here's what I need to do. I want to say the sum is, and then I want to display out the value of that sum. My variable, the sum. Hit done. Save this. Run it. And let's try this again. Enter in the first number. We type in 5. Enter in another number. We type in 7. Does the calculation, and it gives me the sum is 12. Everything's working. Alright, so let's do another assignment. We'll get the difference. Put that down here. The diff is going to be num1 minus num2. And I want to output that. And I'll show you this a little bit differently. What we can do is we can say the difference between, and I'll put in a plus, num1, put another plus, quote, and quote. So what I'm doing is I'm joining some text with a variable, join to some more text with another variable, some more text is, and then finally the variable, the diff. Save this, test it out. Please enter a number. We type in 5. Enter another one. We type in 7. Our sum is 12. The difference between 5 and 7 is -2, and we've got that to work. So we want to do the product. the prod, or the product, we'll go with the prod since we used the diff, is num1 asterisk or times num2. Sorry that that times doesn't show up, but it's an asterisk. It's the one above your number 8. So if you hit shift and 8, that's an asterisk. So I've got that. And I need for output, and we can say num1 plus times plus num2 plus equals the prod. Save, run, test it again. 5 and 7. And let's let this go through. So the sum is 12, the difference is -2. 5 times 7 equals 35. That looks good. And finally, the last thing that we want to do is get our quotient, I guess. So let's put in an assignment, and we'll say the quotient is num1 slash num2, or in other words, num1 divided by num2. And we'll output this, and we'll say num1 plus quote divided by quote num2 plus quote equals plus the quote, or the quotient. Done with that, save, run. Enter the number, it's 5. Enter my next one, it's 7. We get 12, we get -2, we get 35, and we get 5 divided by 7, which is 0.7143. I'm assuming that that's correct. So that worked out pretty well. Let's run this again. Let's type in a number like 4 and 0. And we got the sum, 4 plus 0 is 4. Difference between 4 and 0, we got that, and then I get this can't divide by 0. An error message, and our program stops. So what we can do then is, if we don't want an error message like that, let's put in a selection, put that here, and we'll test out and say if num2 equals 0. If that's true, we want to just give a warning to the user that says something like, I'd love to divide your numbers, but num2 is 0 and I can't divide by 0. I got to put the quotes at the very end of that, so we've got that. But otherwise, if it isn't, I'm going to take and do this calculation, and we'll take the printout and see if I can put that right there, and we get the printout, so we can move that stuff there. And finally, when we're all done, we'll put in a quick message that says, thanks for using the for function calculator program. just so we have something that happens at the very end. So we'll save this, run the program. We know that 5 and 7 worked out pretty well, but let's try it one more time. 5 and 7, and check to make sure that all that's working. So there's my sum, there's my difference, there's the product, and thanks for using the for function calculator. We run this one more time. Type in 4, type in 0. So I've got the sum, I've got the difference, I've got the product, and then it finally gives us the message that, hey, sorry, num2 is 0, can't divide by it, and the program doesn't crash, and that looks pretty good. So taking a quick look at this, I'll save this one last time. If I go to help, I can show the log, and you can see that I've opened and saved this program a number of different times, but really we started this at about 3:40 today. We got done at call it 4 o'clock or something, so about 15-20 minutes, and we've actually got a fairly complex program that's got a lot of steps involved in here, but it wasn't all that difficult to understand the basic logic of this. So that's what's kind of nice about Raptor. So good luck programming, and we'll try a few more things later on.